Welcome to the Art of Getting and Staying Lean mini course. So in this presentation I'm going to go through basically how you could set up your own nutrition plan at any point in your life. And my main goal, and something I pride myself on here, is educating you so that you can start to think about things a little bit more objectively yourself. And we can still discuss this. Don't be afraid to ask me to sit down with you and create your diet, because I'm more than happy to help you, and it's obviously why I'm here, to help you get the results. But maybe years down the line something happens, we're no longer training together, and you want to be able to control your body weight and control how lean you are. Maybe you've got an event coming up or a wedding, anything it might be, or anything that may come up. I want you to have this skill down pat, because the training side of things is going really well. As long as we keep making progress there, then we're going to have that muscle tone, we're going to have that strength. So the next part is just being able to reveal basically the product of your labor. So what we're going to cover in this mini course is as follows. We're going to decide our calorie intake to suit our goal. So this is what we're actually going to be focusing on in this first video. We're going to have a look at all the macronutrients, our proteins, our fats, and our carbohydrates, what they actually are and why they're important. How to set up your macronutrients, so what ratios or how many of each should we be eating and why. The importance of food choice. Does it even matter how we get our calories? Does it matter what macronutrients or how we get our macronutrients? Meal timing. How can we set up a meal timing that suits us, and does it matter? Is there any benefits to setting up our meals in a certain fashion? Flexibility. When we don't have complete control over our food choice, what do we do? Is there certain aspects that we should be focusing on more than others? And finally, the importance of strength training and how that applies to the whole fat loss phase. So why do we learn this skill? We've kind of covered this a little bit, but when we know our principles, the gimmicks and the outrageous promises no longer fool us, because we know what actually causes fat loss. We know that there is no miracle or magic pill. There is only creating a process for ourselves that basically influences our adherence and helps us to stick to the process for the long haul until we get to where we want to be. There are no quick fixes. There are only effective ways of making our diet sustainable. There's no more worrying about being holiday ready or ready for big events, because we know that we have the skill. And this is quite an empowering thing, and it's something that I think we all deserve to have the right, or we all have the right to know this skill, because we only have one life. We deserve to feel confident in our own skin, and you should be able to basically live your life the way you want to. Lastly, I think this is super important, and this is something that I've always loved about fitness, is this is an aspect of life that you have complete control over. You can make sure you get to the gym every day. You can make sure you get to control what you put in your body and how much you dedicate to this, and whether you get results. You can control your results by how you put into your workouts and how much you put into your diet. Whereas other aspects of your life often involve other people and elements that are outside of your control. This is one aspect that can stay consistent throughout. So we're going to talk about energy balance to start us off. So the number one law is the law of thermodynamics, and if we want to lose weight, or if we want to gain weight or maintain our weight, then we have to balance our energy intake with our energy output. So if we consume more calories or energy than we use in a given period of time, then it will result in energy being stored on the body as body fat, and as a result we'll gain weight. Likewise, if we consume less calories or energy than we use in a given period of time, then the body will seek to use the energy stored in the body, so the fat in our fat cells, to make up the rest, and thus we shall lose weight, because less fat means that there's less weight that we're carrying around. So finally, if calories in equal calories out, our weight is then maintained. So here are a few studies just to highlight this. So Strasser et al. Fat loss depends on an energy deficit only independently of the method of weight loss used. So if I have it here, I'm pretty sure I do. This was the study right here where they had subjects conduct various diets. We have a very low calorie diet, low carbohydrate, low fat. You have your ketogenic diet, which is a ridiculously low carbohydrate diet, in that you're only getting roughly 20 grams of carbs each day. You have your high protein diet, intermittent fasting, and the consistency was that if there was an energy deficit there or a calorie deficit present, that the subjects would lose weight over time. So next up we have our 2010 study where a professor of nutrition loses 27 pounds eating nothing but Twinkies, nutty bars and powdered donuts. So basically he ate a junk food diet for a certain length of time and found that regardless of the nutrient absence in these foods, he still managed to lose weight just due to the fact that that energy deficit was there. Although I wouldn't recommend any approach like this, because he also documented feeling awful the whole time. And likewise, there was a recent study where a fellow ate nothing but ice cream, protein shakes, and a multivitamin, this guy right here. So he started out here at the start of 100 days at 192 pounds and ended up at 160, although he says he dipped down to 158, but this was due to water fluctuation. So started here and ended up here at the end of those days. And again, his health markers actually improved as this diet went on, and it also indicates that one of the best things you can do for your health is get to a healthier body weight. Anyway, although he did eat a lot of junk foods and foods that I wouldn't recommend for the majority of, well, you want your at least 80% of your diet to be made up of whole foods, but we will talk a little bit more about this later. And so that is all for that. So how do we know how many calories I should be eating each day, or how many calories you should be eating each day? So everyone is different, and we probably know this already, but why are they different? First thing is body size. So this is the big difference between men and women, and how men seem to get to eat more than women do. I know it's unfair, but it's just the way things are. But appetite is regulated appropriately for that fact as well. So body size, we as men have a lot bigger organs, and just generally we have more tissue that needs energy to function, and so we require more calories as a result. And then we have our lifestyles. Our lifestyles are different. So some people have very active jobs, some have very sedentary jobs, so where we're sitting at a desk all day. And we know from recent studies that NEAT can change from person to person depending on how active they are during the day, which can equal up to about 2,000 calories difference, because they measured someone doing an office job burning 300 calories all the way up to 2,300 calories from the group of people that were doing sort of manual labor jobs. And so NEAT is very important too. But we also have NEAT in terms of fidgeting, and what's known as a high or low responder. Some people who we would class as having a high metabolism actually don't have a high metabolism, they're just a high NEAT responder, in that when they eat more, their body overcompensates and subconsciously they start moving around more to try and burn off the extra energy. But unfortunately, we have the other side of the coin there, where we have low NEAT responders, and when these guys overeat, their body doesn't change a thing. And so those excess calories are more likely to be stored as body fat, but this is also why NEAT's a good thing to take into account, and trying to move around as much as possible is a good idea. Your calorie intake will depend on your goal as well. So the first three things here will probably make up your general energy expenditure for the day, but then we also need to make changes depending on how much you want to lose, or if you want to gain muscle, how much you want to gain. There are many formulas out there, and you can go on to Google and you can look up calorie calculators to try and find some estimates, but this is all they really are going to be. They're going to be estimates. You're going to have to track the results that you're getting from these estimates. So choose a number, start applying that, and then adjust as you go. But here's a quick one that I often use. If you have a lot of weight still to lose, you may need to go lower than this. So the multiplier here is 14 to 15. You might need to go slightly lower. If you're super high or super active during the day, this may give you a number that is too low for you. And this is why tracking is going to be important, but we will get to that later on. So in order to figure out how many calories we need to maintain our weight, roughly 14 to 15 times your body weight in pounds equals the number of calories you need to maintain your weight. Yes, this is super simple, but all we need is a number to get us going. So let's use me as an example. I'm 175 pounds roughly. Our equation is then my body weight, 175 pounds, times 14 to 15, which gives me roughly 2,450 calories to 2,625 calories per day to maintain my weight. And this is pretty close. I reckon I get away with slightly more than this, especially with the job that I have and just wandering about and being on my feet all day. So your calorie target can move as well, or your maintenance calories can move just based on how energetic you are day to day. So making adjustments based on your goal. So we do need to make adjustments. The literature at the moment indicates that the metabolic cost of 1 pound of tissue is roughly 3,500 calories. So if we wanted to lose weight at a rate of 1 pound per week, we need to create a deficit of 3,500 calories for that week. So this would obviously be a deficit of 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of weight loss per week, roughly, which, as we see here, would amount to taking away 500 calories per day from that maintenance number that we had. So we take me again. Let's look at me. I've got a maintenance calorie intake of roughly 2,450 to 2,625, and so if my goal is fat loss, I'll take that number and minus it by, or take away 500 calories per day, leaving me with 1950 to 2125 calories per day to lose roughly 1 pound per week. We could aim for slightly more fat loss, but the lower we go in calories, the more our hormones then start to shift, and we'll start to feel hungrier. We'll potentially see decreased training performance due to the fact that we can't get in the energy to maximize our performance in our workouts. But how much weight should we be looking to lose? So aiming to lose 0.5 to 1% of our body weight per week is a good number to shoot for. And obviously this is going to change. This will then allow for changes in body weight as you go, and also takes into account how heavy you might be. Now, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, you can obviously lose a lot more. As you get lower in body fat, then you'll have to reduce the rate at which you're losing body fat. So again, if we use me as an example, at 175 pounds, I'd be looking to lose 0.8 to 1.7 pounds of fat per week to minimize the risk of muscle loss. Okay, so some thoughts on adding cardio. So hunger is the first thing we need to take into account. It's been shown that doing intense bouts of cardio can lead to increased hunger, likely due to the fact that your body then thinks that you're burning energy at a ridiculous rate, and so your body wants you to eat more to make up for this large, basically this large expenditure of energy that you're creating. Likewise, intense cardio has also been shown in some people to actually reduce hunger, so it really depends person to person. It could go either way. And this is likely due to the blood being taken away from the stomach and the digestive system and all these areas that make you feel hungry, and sort of sends it all to your muscles when your muscles are working during your cardio sessions. Cardio has also been shown to have an effect on NEAT. So doing an intense bout of cardio, like with hunger, your body then goes, wow, we're expending so much energy right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down this person's energy levels so that I make them feel really tired and really lethargic, so that they move less and burn less energy as a result. And this is where we need to be careful that we're not just going all out in our gym sessions and then spending the rest of the day just lounging around thinking that, oh, because I've done my gym session, I've done my bit for the day. We need to make sure that we keep up our general activity. Otherwise, if we end up being lazier than normal because we did all this exercise, it'll just cancel out the benefits from burning extra calories within our workouts. And this is also a massive benefit to having some kind of step counter on you as well, because it allows you to see and create some kind of consistency when it comes to your general movement throughout the day. You can measure it and you can make sure that you're maintaining it. Cardio can also affect training and recovery, obviously because it's training in itself. If you're doing a lot of running about and doing high volumes, so like a lot of miles or really intense cardio, you're still working the muscle fibers, and so your body needs to use calories and materials and adaptive resources to repair those muscles and those fibers, which could have been going towards your strength training, which ultimately is more important for body composition. So we just need to make sure that we're not burning too much energy or wearing ourselves out. It's the equivalent of trying to do intense sprints one day and then coming in the next day and trying to do squatting. You're just not going to have the same level of energy, and your muscles are just not going to have the same level of output. We want to make sure that we are creating our calorie deficit through nutrition first, so we don't rely on cardio. Because we're inconsistent, and because of the previous points that I've made, doing too much cardio and trying to achieve a deficit through cardio alone is just unrealistic and is likely to lead you to burnout or even get less than optimal results because of days where you feel so tired that you don't go running or you don't do that the cardio. So a really poor time investment as well, when you could have just lost the same amount of weight by slightly reducing your calories. So lastly, we want to avoid the overeat, over-exercise cycle, which basically, you've probably experienced this, I know I have, where I've wanted to eat the ice cream and I say to myself, I'll eat this and then I'll go for a run later. But you eat the ice cream, you feel really tired, you feel full of food, relaxed, and you're chilling out, and the last thing you want to do is go for a run. So you eat the calories, but then don't do the exercise. And this is very similar to I just want to go out at the weekends and I'll just do a ridiculous amount of exercise during the week. And for everything we've said before, we can see how that would be detrimental to our progress. So let's look at tracking. So how do we track our progress? We can use the scale, but I recommend using the scale every 3 to 4 weeks maybe, just because of the implications. Let me start that again. Let's not use the scale for at least as a primary source of tracking, because or method of tracking, because we tend to get too emotionally hung up on what the scale says, and it can ruin things day to day. If we stick to the diet perfectly and then the next day we see that our weight is up, we haven't gained body fat, and we know that intellectually, but emotionally on some deep level it kind of upsets us, and it makes it actually harder for us to stick to the diet the next day. So yes, it is a good way to keep track of things, but more of the long term. A better way of doing things would be to take body measurements, so hip, waist, and thighs. Just if we're losing inches off of these areas, then we're likely losing body fat, especially if we're maintaining performance in the gym and gaining strength. This is a good sign that we are maintaining muscle mass and or possibly even gaining. The mirror, just have a look in the mirror frequently and just see. You will eventually see changes and you'll feel differently, and you'll see striations coming in that you didn't see before, and this becomes a really good way of keeping track the leaner you get. Are clothes fitting differently? I find this is the big one. This is the one that people tend to notice first, is do your clothes feel looser? Do you feel more comfortable in your clothing? This sort of things. And these three methods here tend to make you feel better about the process as well, whereas this one can just be a complete day ruiner. So the scale is one I think is massively overrated, and potentially we should be avoiding it as much as we can. This is the most accurate way to do things. It is daily weigh-ins and then taking averages, but like I say, I think this is not for everyone, and I think for the most part it's not for most people. This is something you could do, is you could do daily weigh-ins, so where you've been to the toilet, you haven't eaten yet, and then you take a weigh-in and you just write it down every morning. You then take all 7 days an average, and you do this every week, and you can see an average weight for each week, and then obviously see a trend of whether you're losing weight or maintaining. Very effective, most accurate way to do things on the cheap, but maybe not advisable for most. So now it's your turn. Take your knowledge and turn it into action. I want you to just take what you've learned here and I want you to use it, regardless of whether you're actually trying to lose weight at the moment or trying to do a fat loss phase. It's just good to use this information while it's fresh, and then you'll retain it for a longer period of time. And when you do finally need to use it, you can obviously come back to this presentation, but you'll have at least done it once and you'll feel comfortable with it. And even if you are in a fat loss phase right now, I think it'd be quite cool to see what number you get compared to what your calorie intake right now is, and then you can compare it. Was it close, or is there a lot of adjustments needing to be made? And then you can report back to me, let me know how things go. But until the next video, where we'll be covering macronutrients and their importance, so we're going to be covering the next 2 points actually. We'll be looking at the different macronutrients, why they're important, and also how we can split them into different ratios to optimize the results that we want and optimize them to our own preference. But until the next video, guys, get your task done, comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.